right, what do you want to start with? Do you have a preference?
I suppose in the traditional approach would be to start with the follow-up.
The follow-up to the episode that doesn't exist.
Exactly.
All right, okay. Well, Lawrence, what would you like to to bring to the audience's attention regarding episode 0?
Well, there's a few things. One is orphaned origins for what we're supposed to be running gags that I suspect may not work out now, like crystal lizards, although you seem pretty determined to let that just dangle in the wind as far as a running gag is concerned anyway. No one's going to know what we're talking about when we say crystal lizards, and when we try to explain it to them, they're going to be even more confused.
The whole thing with the crystal lizard thing is that it's now already becoming a part of like normal speech for me. Oh my god, I was about to launch into another episode 0 meme, which was Maria, my wife Maria.
I was fully intending on continuing that because it's amusing no matter what.
I've already started using crystal lizards in conversation with the people around me. So it's a meme that's kind of...
they're all very impressed with that.
Yeah, because then I have to sit them down, much like I probably will have to do with the podcast at some point, and explain myself as to what it is. Or should we just leave it open?
I think we should leave it open and let people guess. So I suppose another bit of follow-up. We assigned each other homework last week, and your homework that you assigned to me, and by extension the audience that never received it, was you should just workshop some ideas for a gripping system.
Yeah, I should maybe preface a little bit of your homework. The idea was that we were discussing after I was playing Shadow of the Colossus. I suggested that I wish that more games had gripping mechanics or used something akin to the sort of grabbing and holding meter in Shadow of the Colossus. It's something that we've seen kind of streamlined a bit in games like Breath of the Wild, and I came up with a couple of ideas of games that could really use like a hold on mechanic, and that's where the homework came from.
Well, I sort of connected 2 dots in my brain from that conversation, which was the homework and Shadow of the Colossus, and it formed a beautiful baby of hanging off of a horse or a vehicle in a first-person game, particularly as it pertains to VR. That would be a very nice idea.
Okay, so I mean, like you're kind of, the actual gameplay is about sort of managing being on a horse, and things like bumps in the road can knock you off, like.
Mm-hmm. Like stamina bars. I'm not sure if that's the most elegant way to put it, but I'm sort of thinking of the idea of, in a Metal Gear Solid 5 sort of way, using the horse as cover. But
oh my god!
Perspective. Not bullet cover, but like, line of sight cover.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
And it could apply to hanging out of a car as well, if you're in some kind of like shootout, for instance.
I think there is it called London Heist? Does have something like that. That's for PSVR.
A very underdeveloped version of the idea. Less developed than this half-assed thinking that I put into it.
Yeah, actually, I can see it a little bit. It's kind of like I can see not needing the meter because, say, if, I don't know, part of the challenge was that you were engaged in combat on this horse. Mm-hmm. You've got your gun in your holster. There are people around you. You need to maybe reload. You got to do all this shit with like one hand on your horse and one hand on your gun. You got to manage all the reloads and stuff while making sure you don't actually fall off the fucking horse. And there's bumps in the roads and sort of factors that kind of ensure that you need to kind of definitely hold on to the horse the entire time.
With the horse in particular, you always have to worry about steering the damn thing.
Yeah, I guess you could tug on the rein to change its direction, or would you have it an on rails experience?
I suppose the easy way out is to say the on rails experience. But if it's a VR situation, like you've also got, now that I think about it, this is getting a little weird now. Like your legs are also like mounting the horse.
So well, assumedly you're not playing in like the fucking Kinect.
Yeah, we haven't exactly hit, we've got pretty good hand controllers now, but no leg controllers just yet, unless you can count those insane, like, walking harnesses that you might see in, like, conventions. Yeah, maybe you could steer the horse by shifting your shoulders or tilting your head. In any case, I wanted to say that stamina bars could never work in VR because it's like visual. Well, I won't say never.
Yeah. You would get that, sort of dissonance as you continue gripping something while the game tells you, "Hey, you're no longer gripping that."
I'm trying to shoot this guy over the shoulders of my horse, but I can't see him because there's this big stupid bar in the way that's obscuring my vision.
That was a good idea. Well, good job following up on your homework. I also followed up on the homework that you gave me, which was to watch the short films for the Warhammer, the fan-made films for the Warhammer.
My homework, which was really just an excuse for me to gush about a really cool video that I saw.
Yeah, and mercifully, it was very short homework, so I appreciate that. The series is called Astartes I believe that's how you say it anyway.
Yeah.
Astartes, for anybody looking to watch it, and I'll put a link in the description. And I had no idea what the fuck is going on because I don't know anything about Warhammer, but it was very pretty.
It was very pretty. That was all made by one guy. The guy that made it has very deliberately chosen an antagonistic force that is not well known even to people like me who are versed in the lore. So don't worry, you're safe. It's not a lot of, oh, I know what this is. That's fine. Hey, Lee, look at this.
It's not reveling in the famous iconography of the Warhammer 1066 series.
Oh, see, there's another one now. You've done it again.
Yeah, I was hoping to just keep up the 1066 thing, which is what I assumed the order. I still don't remember it. Is it 1866?
I think it's 1886.
Okay, sure. Anyway, it's the order 1066, and any game that has a full decade in its name is 100% now being referred to as 1066 by me because it's the only number I can for sure remember. But what I liked about the Warhammer dudes in this depiction is that they clicked along. They were quite speedy and swift, and all this armor they clearly just sort of rests upon them like it would rest upon a normal person, even though it looks like the fucking Brotherhood of Steel. It's good. Anything else from episode 0? The main thing that we did cover was the PlayStation 5 reveal, which we had watched. We had went painstakingly through every game on that was revealed and gave a short burst of opinions. Anything you want to salvage in follow up?
It occurred to me, when we weren't busy cracking wise about the shape of the damn thing and all the games for it that we're not terribly interested in and just wanted to get onto the meaty stuff, that we never actually speculated on the price of the thing, which seems to be a sticking point for a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, conversation in the week following has been nothing but, what the fuck does this thing cost?
Like the crazy one, like the upper limit one that I think is outrageous was £600, and I'm like, no way, it's not going to be £600.
You don't think?
No, I understand that this is supposed to be like a high-end like machine, like it's a gaming machine, but £600 is beyond the pale. No one, especially in like the quasi economic depression that we're in right now, is going to buy a £600.
If there ever could be a worse time to unveil your £600 fucking console, this would be it.
No, the PS3, that was quite expensive when it came out. That was roughly what £300?
That was $599, wasn't it?
Oh, was it? I always thought it was like somewhere in like the 400 range.
Let me look at the original price. It was indeed $599.99 in America. It was £425 here.
I think it's going to be of a comparable price, adjusted for inflation, to the PS3. I reckon.
Yeah, okay. So yes, you draw the line at £600 sterling, but $600 you're kind of more inclined to believe.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I reckon. Also, it wasn't immediately clear from the demonstration, but this thing is big. I've been told that it is both wider and taller than the PS3 is, like the original PS3, the fat version. And that supposedly the fans are meant to be omnidirectional, so that's because of all the guts in it, all that pure gaming power that gaming speed.
So you think this is going to be a little more like Xbox One kind of size, or are we looking at like essentially a small fucking tar PC?
Well, I have a PS3 within line of sight here, and if it's going to be taller and wider than that, it's like, that's big, dude. That's really big. I mean, I joked last week because of the shape of it, that it was like the final level to a Mirror's Edge game. But like, if it's going to be that
You didn't
big,
think it was going to be a fucking play set.
yeah, I didn't think it was going to be a fucking skyscraper. So I think we can talk about our week.
You mean like the stuff we played in the week?
Or watched.
Yes, I have. Mine will go on for a little bit, almost a feature.
Oh, well, that's fine by me, because mine was relatively brief. I mean, I started playing The Last of Us 1, although I haven't had to be able to sink too much time into it. I was real worried. This is a zombie game. It's a zombie game set in the post-apocalypse.
No, and worse than that, the opening sort of couple of hours are a very, very slow experience too. So it lets you drink in that grimdark.
I don't mind the slowness. I feel like the Last of Us in my mind had been entirely tainted by The Walking Dead, because The Walking Dead basically is everything that I dislike about zombie stories.
I take it by The Walking Dead. You're talking about either the sort of expanded story itself and not like specifically Telltale's Walking Dead.
Yeah, I mean the whole thing in general.
Yeah, okay, because Telltale's Walking Dead, pretty good. Actually warrants existing.
Yeah, I know. It's like, oh, the virus has been spread because a bunch of stupid people behaved in a way. Well, a year ago I would have said a bunch of stupid people behaved in a way that nobody in real life would possibly.
Oh yeah.
That if anything, the last 3 months have told us is that, yeah, we've learned a lot of new things about each other and ourselves. Perhaps I've been too hard on this genre.
Yeah, maybe it was actually trying to say something very immediately relevant to our generation.
Well, in any case, I was pleasantly surprised that I didn't find The Last of Us so far anyway to be well, it's grim and it's dark, but it's not grim dark. Grim dark is, in my opinion, where it starts to become insufferable, which is something that I suspect may seeg a little into later in our conversation about The Last of Us 2, which I hope to bring up at some point, and the way that it's being portrayed in the blogosphere.
Yeah, I mean, definitely from media portrayal, which is something you can't really go on, at least.
Mm-hmm.
It gives me reasons to pause, which, to be fair, is not something that carries on from the first game, in my opinion.
No, the first one's done it's had a nice balance, I find.
Yeah, exactly. There is a lot of cute moments in it, and the characters have at least the main characters. There are moments of levity throughout that kind of offset the overall nightmare scenario of the thing. Plus, it's quite like beautifully set. Like it's like a beautiful apocalypse.
It is very pretty. I will give it that. And I mean, it's got what is, in my opinion, the best kind of dialogue, which is, something sad happens, and Joel just goes, "Yep."
The understated.
Yeah, it skipped all the unpleasantness, which is like, oh no, society's collapsing because people don't know how to react. There's power grabbing going on behind the scenes, and it just skips directly to, listen, I'm tired. I'm just trying to get through the day.
Yeah, I've been living this for so long. It's a job. It's literally, like, at the start of the game, it is literally his job to just ferry people back and forth in that place. Like, he's already settled with the life.
You know what? I just really like protagonists that are just tired. Joel is cool. Adam Jensen, he's pretty tired. Like, he's like going up and seeing some conspiracies.
Yeah.
Corporate types being really immoral. And he's like, yeah, okay, whatever, dude. I'm just, like, I've been told that Geralt, or however the fuck you pronounce his name from The Witcher, is also like that, where it's like, I'm just here to do a job, man.
Yeah. So he's very, very straightforward. A little cutting. He's got some wit about him. Do you feel we'll ever approach a sort of need for spoilers on a future episode.
I'll have a bit more to say once I've actually completed it, and then we can sort of make a decision then, I reckon.
All right, very cool. Yeah, it seems both our weeks have taken us to 2013. Is that when Last of Us came out? Yes, 2013.
Well, you can tell us all about it when I'm done doing my week, because there were a couple of other things I did. That's right.
All right, cool. What else you got?
I guess this does technically count as follow-up from last week, but I've been resumed playing Hyper Light Drifter.
Okay, yeah. So for the absolute audience of zero that heard episode 0, we talked about what the hell did you call the new game?
It's the new game by the people who made Hyper Light Drifter. That's
yes, that's so true, and it's called Solar Ash.
Oh, that is quite a cool name. I probably should have remembered that.
Yeah, you will when you associate it with actually playing it.
One thing I forgot about Hyper Light Drifter, or not that I forgot, but I had underestimated coming back to it. In addition to being dialogue, there being no dialogue and being a very minimalist story, it also has a very minimalist approach to text in interfaces as well. So I was like, yes, what the fuck was I doing?
What do you mean text and interfaces? What, just...
I mean, aside from the menu and the occasional, one sentence long tutorial prompt, there's no text in that game. It's all contextual clues based on images and audio cues, and that's it.
Okay, and by audio cues, you mean there's no actual voice dialogue in this. There's Hyper Light Drifter is a game I haven't actually played yet, so I'm piecing together. But I had assumed that, much like the usual polished and well-regarded indie dross, that's the wrong word, but I'm using it. Yeah, they didn't make the same mistake as
that we're making right now.
No, the what do you call the fucking Sonic fan game?
Yes, Freedom Planet.
Freedom Planet.
How dare you, sir? The DeviantArt quality production value to that game is part of its charm. It's one of the most endearing things about it.
It's endearing, yes, in a sort of maybe it's because we in our time have come from similar places on the internet.
We've done our time.
Yeah, we've done our earnestness, our earnest years, and
the blunder years,
which to be clear, have been wiped well clear of the internet.
We have established, I went back, I looked in the Wayback Machine. There's a few archive pages of some forum posts, but aside from that, in any case, Hyper Light Drifter.
Yes.
I forgot how good that game is. It is a very good game.
Good.
It feels really good. It looks and sounds fantastic. The soundtrack is composed by the same people who did Fez.
Oh, well, there you go.
Which you can tell right away. It also has another element borrowed from Fez, which is that, hey, did you complete all the secrets and beat all the bosses? Great job. Now go back and find all the Uber secrets, the secrets.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. That is something I actually liked about Fez. It's not something that I, pursued to the absolute degree.
I think it's likely that I will die before I have finished Fez. But, I intend to give it the old college try at some point.
Well, I actually will probably get around to Hyper Light Drifter. I believe it was included in our 10,000 games for racial equality package on itch.io. So,
on that point, in addition to the itch.io one, there is a Humble Bundle one as well that is out right now that you could avail of.
Yes, 100%. The Humble Bundle, I mean, I'm sure they're not going to use a unestablished podcast to pull in the big numbers, but if you've got $30 somewhere around that ballpark, and you want to get 100 actually good games or somewhere in that, oh man, that sounds terrible. I mean, higher
way to throw itch.io just right under the bus there, Lee.
Higher budgeted games, you can get a good amount and also raise money for a really good cause, which is racial equality. I'm sure there's more details than that. I'm sure it gets more specific than raising money for racial equality. I mean, I'm sure there's specific charities that they're backing, and you can find out more at humblebundle.com.
In any case, Hyper Light Drifter, it's very good. I'm going to finish it if not tonight, then very easily by the time we record the next episode. Or well, I will have quote unquote finished it. There's probably going to be another layer of like even more convoluted bullshit that I'll need to do in order to properly finish it. But yeah, that's a good game right there.
Right, and by next episode we will decide whether finished games mentioned in the week before goes in follow-up or goes in played this week.
I'm sure we will be perfectly consistent every time.
100%. Anything else for follow-up? No, sorry. Anything else for this week?
No, I think that's about it.
Awesome. Well, for me this week, I've been playing Bioshock Infinite, which ties in to two things you've mentioned thus far. One is the game you've been playing, Last of Us, coming out in 2013. Mm-hmm. So that's a neat little coincidence. The other one is you were talking about protagonists who are kind of a little world weary. And get that across with a lot of mm-hms in conversation. In fact, I believe that was one thing that Yahtzee Kusha, the guy that we both
our
like.
mutual friend.
Yeah, let's go for that. That was one of the things he actually criticized it for, was the main character of Bioshock Infinite, Booker DeWitt, does quite a bit of hums and mms and nudges his way through conversations, which of course didn't fucking matter to me, but would to him. Have you ever played Bioshock Infinite?
No, but it's been on the to-do list for some time.
Yeah, likewise. I have actually given it a go before, and just to be clear to anyone who hasn't played it, I'm not going to be spoiling a thing. I just wanted to. I felt like I was in these post Crystal Lizard chasing days. Mm-hmm. One of the victims that I realized it was time to rectify was Bioshock Infinite, because I had started to play it on the PS3 back at the time. It ran like shit on PS3 as well, so that was another reason why I never really gave it much of a shot. But also, I was crawling around corners trying to get every trophy and achievement possible. To a point, I don't know what I was thinking. I maybe didn't read the trophies. But I felt this isn't a spoiler. This is something that happens like in the first, right out the gate. Mm-hmm. It doesn't tie into anything really. But there's a moment where you have to make a decision about chastising people because of their race at the very start of the game, and it's kind of like the first time the game really opens up about how fucking dark this place is, Columbia. It turns out that I believe anyway that no matter what choice you make, it doesn't matter. But at the time, that was the part where I kind of checked out a little bit.
You have no choice but to be a bad person. Another theme that I suspect will be coming up later on in our discussion about The Last of Us 2.
Yeah, I'm sure when we get to that. But I also realized, and it's led me down a sort of rabbit hole, that Bioshock Infinite was a game that I was biased against from the start, which doesn't make any fucking sense.
Because it wasn't Bioshock?
No, actually, because that I had no problem with that specifically. Like I really loved Bioshock, but I think I didn't love it to such a degree that I was sort of adamant that the fucking same creators couldn't also iterate on their own ideas and world. I was a little skeptical about Bioshock 2, and I haven't played it yet. I might even give Bioshock 2 a go. That's one you've given a go, haven't you?
Yes, and it is good. There's merit to it.
See, most people won't even go as far as to say it's good. So, I mean, that's good. That's a positive for me to hear.
It is unabashedly derivative.
Yeah, of course.
But it is good for what it is. Yeah, it's the most least valuable sentence I've possibly said for some time. It's good for what it is. Let me put it like this: you can tell that it's such a sequel because like there's bits of escalation. It's like formulaic sequel. It's like, oh, we need to put some escalation in here over the first one, and our villain is going to be like a real contrast to the villain of the first game, and these enemies are going to be a contrast.
Yeah. It's the Lion King 2 Simba's Pride of video games.
I'm just wondering how much of our audience we've alienated with that comparison, including myself, because I haven't even seen that shit.
You haven't seen Lion King 2 Simba's Pride?
I know, right? How couldn't I have?
You know what's actually this is of course a tangent, but you know what's actually fascinating about Lion King 2: Simba's Pride?
Tell me, Lee.
The Broadway and West End show of The Lion King actually uses tracks from Lion King 2: Simba's Pride.
That's a fascinating piece of trivia, Lee.
Yes. Anyway.
Yes, the first one was really, really good.
Yes.
And you sit down and you're going to write a sequel, and like all the real obvious paths and solutions that you could take if you're writing a sequel to Bioshock were taken during the writing of this one, which is like, okay.
Would you say it's the Little Mermaid 2 of Bioshock games?
That's a film that I actually have seen, but it was so long ago that I don't remember anything about it.
All I remember from a Lindsay Ellis video was Sebastian screaming, "Oh no, it's Ursula's crazy sister!"
It's not that bad. It doesn't get that bad.
Okay.
It's sort of like, hey, Andrew Ryan, he's like an objectivist, right? Well, how about this, right? I've got a great idea. How about we make the villain to this game like some kind of like collectivist? How about that? Yeah, brilliant. Write that down.
That's a different take. Bioshock, but different.
Yeah, it's literally, hey, it's the same but different.
Well,
sure enough, they put thought into making it different, but like it takes a very obvious direction.
Yeah, that makes sense. Bioshock Infinite.
Yes.
Isn't derivative. I can at least say that. If anything, I'll qualify it a little bit. The gameplay is derivative of Bioshock, but the narrative isn't. It takes a whole different tact. I want to sort of step into this bias I had against Bioshock Infinite that kept me from playing the game, because it dawned on me while playing it this time that I was still holding on to something there. And I wanted to understand it a little bit, so I did a bit of digging to try and ration to myself why the hell I was so against Bioshock Infinite, or I had some ill will towards it as a thing that existed. To be clear, just off the bat, I don't know if I've said this yet, but Bioshock Infinite's a really fucking good game.
Yeah,
really,
I got that
really, really good. Bioshock Infinite is a game that very, very much warrants, if not playing for the first time from listeners, it definitely, if you've played it before in the context of 2013, the crazy end of a generation years, you should revisit, because now that you can get your fucking head out of the madness of
you were about to say it, weren't you? Were you about to say head out of the clouds?
Oh no.
For just a moment I thought you were going to say it, and I was like, is he going to go for the... I thought that you deliberately swerved at the last minute.
This will all tie in together, and I'm going to link a bunch of articles to our audience that sort of ties into this, where I'm getting at with this. But back in the day, I basically only had one news source for the video game industry, and that was Kotaku.
Kotaku, yeah.
Yeah. And the reason why is because I only knew of maybe two others, and that was at the time, and that was IGN and GameSpot. And to be fair, GameSpot's actually still very useful in terms of news, because they're quite clean and straightforward in that regard. IGN, not that I bear it ill will, IGN's kind of adorable to still have in this world.
Which is foreshadowing once more for something we will be talking about later regarding The Last of Us 2. Man, so much foreshadowing this episode.
I hadn't even thought about it. So with only one source to get your video game industry news from, you can imagine that it's going to be a little skewed.
Especially one as awful as Kotaku.
Yeah, which, in the day I didn't see, because
no frame of reference. Don't worry.
Yeah,
we're all friends here. It's all right.
No, I mean, to be clear, I still follow Kotaku. I'm still checking in, because sometimes the articles are good. Just, if I can give any advice to anyone, never have just one website to check in on, and especially don't make it Kotaku. But I did like their informal style. That was genuinely appealing to me. and still kind of works these days. There are, but now that we live fully entrenched in Twitter and so on, you can get that anywhere. Anyway, when I was in the thick of these days, it was around 2013, and that just so happens to line up with Bioshock Infinite, and I had to do some digging. Because in the back of my head, I remembered one thing that I was holding against Bioshock Infinite, and that's that its box art was really fucking dull.
Oh, the Booker DeWitt versus the Elizabeth box art debacle.
Like I wouldn't even say it so much in those terms. And this for our audience. This is one of the articles that I'll be referencing. A lot of box art at the time had the same motif of dude with gun on cover.
Mm-hmm. I'm so glad those days are over.
Yes, sarcasm duly noted. But it was a little more overbearing at the time, I believe. Maybe I don't notice it so much because I don't buy boxed games as much anymore. And I've been playing shit like Devil May Cry, where it's now got 3 dudes with swords instead of guns. It really mixes things up. And
we've come so far.
Yeah, and Last of Us 2, it doesn't even have a gun, just a big zoomed-in vase, I believe.
Just an angry person.
That's a mission statement if ever there was one.
Mm-hmm. I hope you weren't intending to find this game fun at any point.
Yeah, you're already being judged for playing it. But yeah, at the time, and especially in 2013, we were right in the thick of the Call of Duty Battlefield Spunkargle wee days,
mm-hmm.
And at the same time there was also a bunch of Last of Us actually does qualify, and also like Uncharted and all was coming out at the same time. Most of these games with guys on guns looking sort of off to the distance, and there was an article at the time in Kotaku that I had to Google to find, and it was by Owen Good, and just to call out. I'm gonna call out everyone.
It was you who poisoned my mind.
Yeah, who wrote Bioshock Infinite's cover is terrible, and yes, that is a problem. And yeah, you can.
Such a game journalist title.
It really, really is. These opinion pieces, I was starting. You're in that infancy of getting starting to form like an identity, I suppose, of the things you like, and therefore you must have opinions, and thus hold opinions and argue opinions. And I don't believe I argued these opinions ever, but I started to hold them at least. And I realized that these were all circulating from this website because I then looked into 4 further articles about Bioshock Infinite, all of which will be linked below, and all of which subconsciously,
nice bit of confirmation bias.
I had just taken these in and held them against Bioshock Infinite, maybe without even really knowing, because a lot of these. I only on a second read did I realize, I did think that. Which is very concerning. And if I were to make a moral from all of this, don't get riled up in hot takes. Already I can remember these things being, these are bad takes, ill-informed takes. But here's just a couple of the articles. I'm going to click them to get them open. I could link them to you if you want, but I would imagine you don't want to have to see any of this.
No, I don't. What I want, Lee, what the ideal way for me to experience these articles are, is for you to say their titles to me and for me to scoff in a condescending manner.
Then I am happy to oblige. So I've rated these. I've given them a scale of good, bad, and meh.
What, on like a scale of insufferability?
Yeah, absolutely. So there was that first one by Owen Good, and to be fair, it was a bad take, a very, very bad take. But on the good side of things, if we were to counterpoint it from Kotaku, there is one here from Tina Amini called "The Real Problem with Bioshock Infinite's Box Art: Poor Trigger Finger Discipline," and it's kind of jokey.
Yeah,
kind of contradicts her own colleague a little bit about like, you know what? Not that she disagrees with the whole fucking thing entirely, but more that she was pointing out that there was an actual trend at the time of people really actually holding guns wrong in cover art. Even I'm looking down it, I can see Call of Duty Black Ops 2,
No, that's because I can get behind.
XCOM. Yeah. So it was a thing, and that was a pretty good article actually when I was reading it. Another good one, yes, was called "At Least There's a Good Reason I'm Sick of Hearing About Bioshock Infinite," and this one was actually really useful for understanding what had happened here, because Luke Plunkett actually wrote up about the same thing that happened to me at the time and explains what happened with Bioshock Infinite, which was it was on, I believe, a very early announcement that led to a very, very overly gestated PR circuit.
Yes, I know the video in question that you're referring to, like the early tone setting trailer that showed you going
Yeah.
through Colombia. I remember that video, and I remember it being very, very cool, and I remember being very disappointed that the end product didn't turn out like that promised, because it was a lot tonally more similar to Bioshock 1.
Yes. Yeah. That's right. Anyway, yeah. So that's a good article. I recommend because it goes into a little bit about what a mistake it was to announce this so early, and even Ken Levine saying he didn't want to do it. Ken Levine, by the way, it's not mentioned in that article, but I remember distinctly being a problem. It's not mentioned in any of these articles, I believe, but Ken Levine is a bit of a problem himself because the man loves to talk.
Uh-huh.
And
the blabbermouth, huh?
Yeah, and I distinctly recall this about him. There were just a lot of fucking Ken Levine every week updating us about the game in that kind of way, and he's just like, and adding new expectations onto new expectations, and you're just like, come on, man, step away. Let people imagine this themselves. And it's not explicitly mentioned in a lot of this stuff, but I definitely remember it being a factor. It's like, oh, that guy needs to shut the fuck up. Let me make my own mind up about this. On the meh side of the scale, we have a Kirk Hamilton article, and it's called "The Problem with Bioshock Infinite's Combat." It talks about the auto healing mechanic in the game, which was a bigger trend of the day, and it talks about how the sort of routine of the game and how you get overcrowded by enemies generally can make for a kind of disinteresting combat scenario. And he quotes Jonathan Blow as his main source on sort of agreeing with him, I guess. It's an interesting read. I would say that it's not entirely fair. I think the game does it does a good job of, when you're swarmed by enemies, you do kind of panic a little bit, and that healing allows you to risk jumping out of cover and sort of making crazy plays now and then, but not overextending and then having your actual health deplete. So it does encourage you to poke out and not play too safe.
I find that the best version of this, I think, at least the simple version, is the Halo system, where you've got a shield and then health. The shield will recharge, the health won't, and when your shield is depleted, you take damage from health.
Yeah, that is the system. That is the system I'm describing.
Yeah, that's a good way of doing about it, because you can always just wait for the shield to come back, and then you're free to pop your head out to take some pot shots or make a dash for it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think people can be a little too hard and fast about, like, you can only have health packs. At the time, yeah, it was probably very prevalent and maybe insufferable because there was no alternative, and it seemed like that was where gaming was going, and it wasn't coming back. But now we live in the future, and the future has a load of games that like don't have that system at all. They just have straight up health packs, and both are good in my eyes. I liked it in Bioshock Infinite. Anyway, also I have a really bad take. This is also by Kirk Hamilton, so there's one minute from Kirk. Kirk Hamilton, by the way, has written a lot of good articles, just to be clear. just so it doesn't seem like I'm outing him. Or Owen Good, also, I believe, who now works for Polygon, also does good writing as well. Kirk Hamilton, I remember most for doing good music articles. So just to say that I he's done other good articles, not just to publicly shame him. But this one's called "Bioshock Infinite is insanely, ridiculously violent. It's a real shame." And oh man, yeah. The point here, like that, he sort of sets up a scenario where, imagine you're someone who's never played Bioshock or has no idea what they're getting into, and they open up this very cutesy mystery game from the outset, and then they find a fucking bloody corpse like 5 seconds in, and then they wake up in this world where a guy gets fucking chainsawed in the face, and it's one of your first real interactions in the game, and he goes into sort of gory detail as to that interaction and the excessiveness of the violence there, and sort of builds onto a case that kind of sort of talks about like he wishes he could show his family members this game, but this kind of this kind of ruins it.
Oh yes, I know what you mean. This mindset.
I think this is a terrible take. And just on top of that, it also is very disingenuous to the actual content of Bioshock Infinite. Like, it's a world that is a violent world. I mean, like, a good chunk of the game entails a bit of civil unrest that involves a lot of violence, you know, like, and it would be very disingenuous to pretend that that's, like, it wouldn't be this bloody and awful. And on top of that, the character Booker DeWitt, he's very much characterized as a guy who uses violence and is judged for it and uses it almost as an automatic response. It's a part of his fucking character arc. You know, like, there couldn't be a worse take of a worse game. You know, like, if you wanted to go into fucking, you know, Modern Warfare 2 of the day, you know, and to shoot the innocents, it's very shocking. I get it, you know, that would be one where I go like, okay, yeah, it's glorifying the military complex and it's also trying to shock value one of the terrorists, though. But Bioshock Infinite is the wrong fucking game to make this case that, you know, like, we should compromise its violent intent and content because your wife and or sister might want to play.
You know, I really like this game that's about like xenophobia and racism and a society that, you know, has that as its foundations. But you know, it's just the violence, you know. It's just
Maybe I'm being a little disingenuous by not fully like quoting the thing, so I'm putting it out there onto the episode for people to read, just to make sure that, you know, like, that's definitely the point he was trying to get across. And I do think there was more to his argument, but I also think it's like, it's the wrong game to make this argument for. Maybe this was written like literally an hour into the game, and then he didn't get further, and then he didn't think about taking it down. But like, Jesus,
that does seem to be the Kotaku way.
Yeah, maybe. I don't want to fucking jump here, but
don't worry, that'll be my job.
Bad, yeah, you can do it. But anyway, it's the hottest of it's the hottest of hot takes, and it's a real fucking bad one. So news this week. Lawrence, you got a favorite story? I mean, we'll talk more collectively about the EA and PC Gamer show, whether you've seen them or not, in a minute.
No, I understand that you watch them partially out of an obligation to have something to talk about. You know, content. Got to get that content.
Hot ass content. Yeah.
I wasn't quite as desperate because I recognized them for what they were. Something to be avoided or perused in hindsight with like a list of things that came out.
Yeah, yes, and that they were.
What's set my imagination alight this week is the I suppose the release and media circus surrounding The Last of Us 2, or as I like to call it, the Neil Druckmann self-congratulatory power hour.
Oh God, excellent. Yes, up there with Ken Levine in guy who talks too much about his games publicly is Neil Druckmann.
Well, I mean, unlike Ken Levine, Neil Druckmann's self-praise is borderline masturbatory. You know, he's talking about how dogs in my game, in other games they're merely enemies, but in this game they're a pet that belongs to someone who will cry out its name as you shoot them in like a borderline fetishistic manner.
Jesus, no! Are you serious? Like,
oh yeah, he was going on about how like
pretentious up the "we killed a dog in our game and it was meaningful" trope.
Oh yeah. Oh, have you not been hearing about some of the dumb shit he's been saying?
No.
Yeah. Oh, it's like what was that? In fact, you know what? I'm gonna look this up right now. He has been his head has been so firmly up his own ass about this that it has overshadowed like the actual game itself in my mind. There was a recent review of The Last of Us 2 that said something, effusively gushing, like where most video games these days are trying to be John Wick. The Last of Us 2 is more comparable to Schindler's List.
Oh my god.
And this was naturally
That's a bad
lampooned
take.
on social media, to which Neil Druckmann took the stage to say, I'm real tired of hearing all these quote unquote jokes about something that's really, really serious, as an art form, yada, yada, yada. I was like, my God, man, get over yourself. Your game's not Schindler's List. And even if it was Schindler's List, that wouldn't be a decision that's not an assessment that you get to make, dude.
Are we serious? The fucking zombie game?
Uh-huh.
Oh, holy shit! I mean, yes, we have the games industry is very is always looking for its new big thing. Its new fuck you to Roger Ebert.
Uh-huh. Oh yeah. Oh man, for that guy, for someone who like has nothing to do with the industry, boy has he given the industry a massive chip on the shoulder.
Yeah.
Yes, here it is. It's like John Wick, The Last of Us 2 is Schindler's List, and just like that film, there were times when I wasn't sure I could keep going.
Holy.
And the tweet was, truly Ikaruga is the Eli Wiesel's Night of Shmups. Neil Druckmann said something to the effect of, with all due respect, I find these kinds of ironic, scare quotes, jokes, to be unproductive at best. We can do better with critical discourse, especially by those of us with thousands of followers, and especially about sensitive subject matter.
Oh my god!
And
so it's what are we? What's he saying here? Is so the Ikaruga comment that was somebody else?
Yeah, that was somebody else. Jason Schreier also chipped in with like a sort of joke at the expense of this, Brian Nosey article.
And then Neil Druckmann calmly and carefully steps back in to say, "No, that man who's praising me is right."
That is right. He is right in comparing to me to one of the greatest and most impactful films of the 20th century.
That also deals with subject matter like the fucking Holocaust. It's a zombie apocalypse. I mean, sure, right? Okay, Last of Us is really about the characters, okay, and so I mean, you're playing it at the moment. You can see that it's not really about the fucking zombies. It's a backdrop,
and it doesn't help that there's been a lot of DMCA takedowns of games that are of reviews or pundits that are critical of the game they've been very heavy-handed.
Yeah.
And oh yes, there's the fact that they've been sort of using this as a means of quieting people down who have been too noisy about all the crunch that, it's a lot crunchier now. Naughty Dog's a lot crunchier now that Neil's installed.
Yeah, I did glance at an article, didn't fully read it, which says everything you need to know about me. But about the sheer exuberance of the graphics at times can't help but bring to light that crunch.
Especially because I'm pretty sure Neil Druckmann was the guy who like ousted Amy Hennig from the company.
Well, okay, though. Now we're getting into alleged territory.
Oh yes, allegedly.
But yeah,
allegedly.
If that's allegedly true, that's allegedly bullshit. Fuck, man. What a train wreck to be a part of from start to finish.
Which is like, it's like, you know what? The game's probably going to be good. I would even go so far as to say it's probably going to be great. But the energy it's been giving off since like the leaks and the release have been really, really strange. It doesn't help that the early release codes that they've been giving out to influencers has been really, really draconian about what they can and cannot show.
Yes, the embargo was famously tight.
Which is laughable, just a hugely amusing example of like locking the stable after the horses bolted. After like,
oh yes, after the script leaked, or like the whole game leaked, didn't it?
After like the second half of the game's worth of like entire cutscenes of the ending of the game were like released for everybody to see, and it's like it feels like at this point the only people who don't know what the ending to that game are the people who like me very deliberately chose not to see it.
Yeah, anybody who was already looking to know who was going to read a spoiler article ahead of time has already seen the spoiler.
People aren't happy, Bob. They aren't happy.
About what? About the
nature of the ending. Like there's a bunch of like LGBTQ people who are really unhappy. There's a bit of a stuffed in the fridgism going on apparently.
Oh no.
But I don't have to worry about that because what happens when this happens is I assume that everybody I like dies, so that I'll only be pleased when they make it. I'll be surprised when they make it.
Yeah, 100%.
Like when the leaks first came out and when people's hackles were first getting up that there might be something amiss, like there was a lot of people from inside Naughty Dog giving a lot of sort of, how do I describe this? You know, when the final season of Game of Thrones came out, lots of eye contact, lots of like really nervous grins and going, you know what? I was just really happy to be a part of the project. There was a lot of very talented people, you know, a lot of sort of really uncanny, circuitous, like damned by faint praise sorts of things going on.
Yeah, absolutely.
There was a lot of the same energy coming out of Naughty Dog with people going, yeah, you know what? There's a lot of really talented people working on this. I'm really glad you've been a part of this project. The Last of Us is like a really close to us down here at Naughty Dog, you know, sort of people like people who have like the distinct energy about them of like having like a gun trained to their head. Also, this game, it's coming at an unfortunate time when there's been a recurring trope or technique in games where you've seen it before, no doubt, where it tries to make you feel bad by chastising you for doing something that you needed to do in order to progress through the game. They're trying to make you feel bad for your characters doing something when the reality of the matter was the only two choices you had were do that thing or not play the game. Like, yeah, because it's like Neil Druckmann, of course, in a weirdly creepy manner, going on about how every character in this game, every enemy, you know, they have loved ones. You'll see enemies cry out the names of, because like you'll shoot an enemy, and then like all the enemies around will be like, "Oh no, Samantha!" Oh, and it's like,
oh my fucking god, are you serious?
And it's like it's all about the cycle of violence. But if these are enemies who are like trying to kill you, I'm not gonna feel all that bad. No matter how much you try to slap my wrist and go, "Oh, that was a person with friends and family." It's like, yeah, dude, I know, okay. I'm just gonna resent you for like making it the only option.
God, it sounds like he's responding to the Rick and Morty pilot or something. Like, this isn't how people actually feel. You know, it's more serious than your throwaway gag about shooting an alien and they having a family. You know, these people, these AI, they do have stories. We've written them, and it's very important to tell them.
Yeah, it's a shame.
What a circuit! I'm glad you're on the front line of this because I don't want any fucking thing to do with it. It is all sorts of fucking cringe from here. Anything else been catching your attention?
No, I guess the Cyberpunk delay. I'm not even surprised. Like, this was a game that was announced in like what 2015. It feels like
It must be.
It's only been.
When did the fucking Witcher 3 come out?
Yeah, they announced it roughly around the same time, and they were like, "Yeah, we're not working on this until The Witcher 3 is done." At which point you look at them and go, "Then why are you announcing it, guys? Why are you telling us about it?"
Yeah.
But you know, this game has been delayed after delayed after delayed. Like you're not even surprised. It's like the event horizon of some kind of black hole. Like the closer you get to it, the longer it seems to take. What was it? The hard times or the hard drives? It is the hard times, isn't it? The
hard drive.
The hard drive. Yeah, the hard drive had a very funny headline. As is their lot in life.
Yeah, punk ass game or something, wasn't it?
No, yeah, Cyberpunk punk game true to form by showing up fashionably late to its own release.
It's a great Twitter and or website to follow, by the way, anyone who hasn't followed the hard drive. The Onion for video games, brilliant. Yeah, Cyberpunk was a thing that I knew at the time was announced way too fucking early. I could fucking see it. So I've been quite lucky to not get invested, and I've aside from maybe one or two trailers I've seen at various E3s over the year, and I certainly haven't fucking pre-ordered it or set my fucking clock to it. So I'm very lucky that I get to step away from this and feel utterly detached and get to play it as if it shows up on the day and knowing none the wiser that it was a thing that people were desperately clamoring for, and I just felt I should rub that in.
Yeah, I think the only other announcement that's of personal interest to me would be Crash Bandicoot 4. But unlike yourself, who you're a hot-blooded person, I'm not. Like I'm jaded. I'm worn down by the winds.
Oh, I see.
But I have been eroded by the tides too many times over the course of too long a period to have any kind of excitement in me whatsoever. At least at first, I can look at something and go, "Looks like it's coming along well," or "Looks good," but until it's in my hands or people that I trust are telling me, "No, man, it's the real deal," I'm not going to get too excited.
Yeah, Crash is, to me, a legitimate reason to be hype. The Toys for Bob dudes have been doing bang-up work with the remakes.
Oh, it's Toys for Bob making it, huh? That's
Yeah.
interesting. Because a funny bit of trivia, Toys for Bob, or the original Toys for Bob, maybe not the modern iteration, were the people who made Star Control 2.
Wow, no, I didn't know that. I only knew them as the Skylanders guys before they started doing Sony remakes, retreads.
And that's my fun bit of trivia for today. Did you like the Insane trilogy?
I did.
I'm glad to hear you say that because I don't like being this person, but I was the guy who looked at gameplay and went, it's just not the same, and I hated myself for it.
Yeah, and to be fair, I understood a lot where people were coming from there, but at the same time, as a long-term Crash Bandicoot fan, which is a sickness that some of us do actually carry with us in life, because I literally played almost all of them, which is fucking ill.
Tragic.
Yeah, absolutely. But Insane Trilogy is really fucking good. Now, to be fair, it was made by Vicarious Visions. The fourth game seems to be being made by Toys for Bob, who were actually behind the Spyro remake, which I also played and was also really good. And so that's why I think it's in pretty capable hands.
Another bit of follow-up from last week. Having the balls to call your thing 4.
Yes, that's right. We were talking about Hitman 3.
Yeah.
Being ballsy enough to just come out and say we are Hitman 3, not fucking. And the same goes for Hitman 2, obviously. But this one was like they didn't muddy the water or step away and go like Hitman 2 Part 2 or some shit.
Yeah, it's none of that Crash Bandicoot redemption or some bullshit.
Redemption.
He's back, and this time he's angry. No, it's Crash 4.
Yes,
that's confidence.
Absolutely, and just right. Hopefully it's not it's closer to the Hitman 3 kind of confidence than it is the Sonic 4 confidence.
Yeah, misplaced confidence.
Misplaced confidence.
Sometimes it's good to be cowardly. Sometimes you have a good reason to be a coward.
Sometimes, if you're going to name it the fourth in the game, at least don't hand it off to a third-party company to develop. Jesus Christ, what happened with Sonic 4? Anyway, that's a topic for another day. This week, we, God help me, there was the PC Gamer Show and the EA Play Live where our exciting, exciting's doing a lot of work there. They were our shows this week. We are still in usual E3 time of the year, although due to the Backstreet Boys tour, we don't have our E3 this year. This is for posterity, by the way. Everybody knows this at the time of recording, but
there's only so much attention to go around.
Yeah, 100%.
What's the phrase? There's only so much mind share. Yes, that's the disgusting corporate.
That sounds fucking 1984 as fuck. PC Gamer Show I didn't really watch. You didn't see either of these.
No, I've been told that the PC gaming one in particular was rather insubstantial.
It's always been bad, so I didn't watch it myself. I just skimmed through the announced titles. Interesting ones out of those were Persona 4 Golden.
Yes, I remember that being a particularly amusing announcement because he interrupted the conference to announce it despite the fact that it had already been on sale for like several hours.
The entire day, yeah. Exactly. That's excellent news. Everybody should play Persona 4. We'll eventually get to. Are you waiting for Persona 3?
I am, in fact, waiting for Persona 3.
Yes.
Atlas. I feel like I don't think that I would make a very good business analyst, but I think I could do a better job than whoever the fuck is working at Atlas right now.
Mm,
You're
yeah.
sitting on a mountain of free money. It's free money.
Maybe they were holding out on the Persona 3 dancing game. They were checking the numbers and saying, use that to judge that the metrics on the dancing game shall decide whether we ever re-release Persona 3 in its full glory, and not some fucking PSP hand-me-down stripped out version. And 100%. What the fuck is keeping them?
It's like, you know what? I'm pretty sure that the decision to put the Golden on PC was one that they were pushed to by Sega, for instance.
That could be true, and in this very rare case of a publisher knowing better, I'm glad that Sega has done so, because people should and seemingly have leapt to fucking Persona 4 now that it's on something that's not the PlayStation 2 or the PS Vita.
In related news, I'd like to pour one out for the PS Vita. It's Soul Lifeline. You're free now. It's okay.
It's that and the PS TV. You forget the PS TV.
I choose to forget, Lee.
Its whole lifeline was also Persona 4 Golden.
If only the rest of us could only hope to be as adequate as the PS Vita.
Anyway, also the PC Gamer Show. We had the Outlast Trials, which I'm interested because I'm kind of tiptoeing about the idea of revisiting Outlast.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm giving it some fucking due diligence, since I tend to fucking slag it off quite often.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to be fair, a little more fair. I'm kind of working my way through some other stuff at the moment. I want to see Soma through.
Oh, yes.
Outlast is a tangential thing that I've been thinking about because I've started playing Soma, and I'm like, if I can get through this, maybe I should give Outlast a better shot. The only other thing that I thought was it's a bunch of trailers of this fucking PC Gamer Show thing, but the only thing that looked cool right off the bat was a game called In Sound Mind.
Yes, that's the mannequin thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it has that. It's kind of it's like the same shit you've seen in Bioshock. Those fucking polystyrene people. That looked good. I mean, more games like that. More games like that in Soma, the sort of philosophical and scary games. I'm all for, and I'm trying to get better at them. I'm trying to get better at playing more of them. So, In Sound Mind has officially made the radar. But yeah, as for the rest, I mean, there was fucking, who knows, some Shadow Man remaster. Who gives a shit?
We've just alienated all those Shadow Man fans out there.
Damn it! Right off the bat, there's that hardcore Shadow Man base will never tune into another Vectormen episode.
Elite Dangerous is getting a on foot mechanic, which is very strange to me. You can now get out of your ship and walk around.
Yeah, I've never played Elite Dangerous, so I don't know what that means in terms of the difference it might make.
I recently bought it as part of like a humble bundle, and it's sort of, once I get VR, going to be my du jour go-to VR game, because it's like, hey, you're in a cockpit, going around in space. It's gonna be cool.
Yeah, that was one thing I did notice. I checked it just to see if it was a full game or not. Like a follow-up, that which would sound more exciting, but it's a patch to the game that's already out there, so I mean, it's hard for me to really give a shit. So I watched EA play live, which I'm glad I did to some degree, because
was there a lot of sweaty black people?
Yeah, not as much as you would hope.
Oh, I like sweaty black people.
I sure do. I'm glad I've seen EA games live, because or EA Play live, because I was missing a little bit of the E3 cringe.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of pined for it.
Oh, sorry. I've just glanced at like a roundup for like the EA Live, and I've just saw the phrase or the sentence, "Members of the wildly popular Sims 4 team showcased a touching message about diversity," which was one of the highlights of the entire show.
my god, no, Lawrence, that was the funniest part. I mean, like, and let's, to be clear, I'm going to qualify this very quickly and say, not in a derogatory or disrespectful way to the people involved. I mean, good. It's good to have good feely moments.
If I were to guess, was there a selection of strategically ethnic members of the team solemnly standing, talking very vaguely about current events, and how now more than ever we need to come together in order to enjoy the products of EA?
Yeah, 100%. It was a touching speech about how The Sims helped these sort of disenfranchised individuals find their place in the world, find a community, or a sort of build a world for themselves that felt normal, which in itself I thought was a bit creepy because The Sims is anything but a normal world. But
they've come together through their mutual fondness for trapping people in the deep end of swimming pools and burning houses down.
Maybe, the petty revenge simulator lives on, I believe. But the funniest part, which, and by funny I mean creepy, came when, after one of the speakers said the quote, "Sims is like a utopia of what I hope our world eventually becomes." And then,
from an EA spokesman, I believe them.
Yeah, true. But then the people in the video started melting into their Sims. Like, they were swapped out. Their skin fell away, and they became Sim versions.
It's the Bugsnax thing all over again.
It was it's so much worse. It was legitimately horrifying. It was especially after the Sims is the utopia. I wish to breed in the Sims world, and then melting into their Sim. Oh man, that was. I mean, I'm glad I saw it because, to be fair, I was already unsettled by the sort of. It had started, the whole thing, the presentation had started with a lot of quite nice things for a corporation to say. Andrew Bott Wilson stepped out and spoke in maybe the most robotic way possible. It's almost like he's playing into the meme of himself. He did say some, quite nice things about the sticking by the black community, and EA are willing to put it on the line to support these times of change. I mean, despite maybe as a corporation fundamentally opposing these changes that people actually have in mind, but anyway, it was then followed up by the threatening statement of wishing that the world that we after the world we defund the police, and enlisted.
Did you say that?
No. Oh my god, no.
For a moment there, I almost got excited. I was like, "Yeah, man, fucking smash the state, let's go!"
Yeah. No, I mean, if a statement like that had been made, I wouldn't be still laughing about it. Put it that way, still poking at it. Because that's an actual fucking statement. Put it that way. No, he was saying more like, these are difficult times. Stand by, Black Rights Matter. Which is, it's good that he said that. But yeah, fuck me, man. Sims is the utopia which I hope our world eventually morphs into. That's a mission statement. That's an outright threat to humanity.
Yeah, it's some kind of nightmarish techno-utopian awfulness.
Yeah, absolutely. To be fair, there really wasn't much to talk about in the EA Games thing. I'm glad I had that cringe back in my life a bit, but the Sims talk was right over. I mean, to be fair, a lot of it went right over my head. There was Apex Legends talk. Who the fuck cares? Sims talk. Who the fuck cares? They talked about Command and Conquer coming out again. I mean, I'm sure people care. I've played it before. I don't. I mean, it looked exactly like Command and Conquer, so good for them. There was It Takes Two, which a creepy emotional doll simulator.
Yeah, I'm looking at that right now, and
pushed by a crazy man, Joseph something.
For those of you who like me didn't know who that was based on his name, it's the "fuck the Oscars" guy from the video game awards.
Yeah, and boy, oh boy, did EA play into the fact he said that it was referenced not once but twice.
I'm looking at the video, and I haven't seen. Oh, here's the game now, because
it's all about this dude.
Yeah, it's him. It's the ego show.
Mission statement for this crazy. Sorry, that's my. I didn't properly put the inverted commas on there. That crazy.
Yeah, you need to pronounce it right. He's crazy.
Oh, he's outspoken. He's like, fuck the things. And then, you get footage of him storming around his office in a mocap suit while camera crews are following him and shooting him in glorious high def. Who the fuck cares?
He's an auteur, Lee.
Yes.
EA has auteurs.
Fashionable sense, I believe so. And he's made pure back-to-back 7 out of 10s, like A Tale of Two Sons and A Way Out.
Oh, that's great. I love that. Back-to-back 7 out of 10s.
He looks right on course to follow that up with It Takes Two, which it looks like all the others. It just looks like all the others. The way he described it sounds like he hadn't even moved on from the concept of A Way Out. He just felt like he described terms like he was reinventing gameplay initiatives. Or sorry, he was reinventing the way we interact with gameplay, and I swear to God, man, you can't say that shit with no irony. Like, you can't actually say like your fucking Telltale game with a budget was actually like a fucking breathtaking stride for the industry.
Listen, man, if at the press conference your take or your representation is video of you in the office and like video of people working at computers on the game that you're not showing us, put it back in the oven, man. It needs more time.
We saw next to nothing of it, but we did see a lot of Joseph, and I think they're hoping that they can make that enough of a brand for us to give a shit, which might be enough. To be fair, he does say good. He makes good gifts. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, he seems like a nice guy.
He seems... Yeah, okay, sure.
He seems like a nice guy to share a beer with, which is a bad criteria to vote for someone for, but it is nice as a person to, Yeah,
I wouldn't work with a dude like that. I wouldn't want to work with that guy, but I mean, I certainly don't mind him existing.
Lovely. Back-to-back 7 out of 10s. I don't mind him existing.
The EA also did another EA original, which was a cute little Tim Burton looking game called Lost in Random.
Oh, I'm looking at it now, and Tim Burton should definitely contact his solicitor because
yeah.
It does look good though. It looks good.
It's the trend that follows on from the PS5 reveal thing, where fucking 3D platformers are suddenly back in action, and I'm all about that. I'm 100% happy to see the games that I would have played if I were 7 still getting paid. Again, they've clearly unveiled it a little too early. They lead with concept art rather than like full images, and they show not a lot of the shifts of the world. So we're probably going to be waiting for that a long time. That actually might be a significant problem with this EA Play thing, is that almost all the games in it that were new basically don't exist yet.
Yeah.
Because jumping a little ahead to the end of the presser was Skate, an announcement for the next Skate, which it was exciting to people who played Skate, I understand.
I mean, I don't know if this is coincidence or not, but roughly the same time that this is game made, Tony Hawk's getting back in the game.
Yes, that's right. We've got Tony Hawk 1 and 2 being remade.
And hints of a new one.
Ooh, Tony Hawk 9.
The man himself has been, well, not Tony Hawk 9, but like something in the vein of Underground or American Wasteland or something like that.
Underground 4.
He's been courting the press. He's been trying to put himself back in the relevance again. He seems to be leaning into his persona as the real life Perry the Platypus. As in, if you were to see him, you'd be like, "Who's that guy?" But if he's holding a skateboard, it's like, "Oh my god, it's Tony Hawk!"
I did see some very cute tweets.
Somebody asked him, "Are you Tony Hawk?" And he said, "Yeah." And the person went, "Why?"
Good response. Yeah, Skate got announced, and there not only was there not a number or a title, there was nothing to show of it. They it was like a fucking presser, where like they essentially said, we have signed a contract with the guys who made Skate to make another Skate, and the guys themselves are very, very excited for it. So that was cute, but like, Jesus, don't mention it this early on. Like you might. We don't even know if these guys have a team yet. Like, what are the Skate team dudes doing these days? I'm sure they've moved on to some other fucking. They've been swallowed into the EA conglomerate.
Is it using that peripheral? Do you remember the Skate peripheral?
That was a Tony Hawk thing.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, Tony Hawk Ride, I believe it was called.
Oh yes, that's right.
That's why that's part of the reason why there's not a lot of Tony Hawk games. Two other games that were mentioned in this: Rocket Arena. What to say about Rocket Arena?
It seems to have that Fortnite Pixar aesthetic, the Overwatch aesthetic.
Yep, as we ascertained before in our preview in the episode that no one will hear. We are just about on the peak of being fucking done with that.
Oh, this is really Fortnite.
Yeah, so it's an online multiplayer battler, something akin to Overwatch, I guess, but everybody has rockets. Like, that's the only weapon is rockets. My first problem is that it's called Rocket Blank when there already is a big esport called Rocket Blank at the moment. Rocket League's been around for so long now. Why would you step into that arena? That Rocket Arena? It looks fine.
It looks like Fortnite. Like, I mean, I said it before, but like the art direction is Fortnite. The position of the camera is Fortnite. Like, when they fire a rocket, it feels like Fortnite.
I don't know how fucking hero shooters. I don't know if the world has any more space for.
Hey Lee, do you like Star Wars?
Star Wars? I sure.
I don't.
Yeah, I'm very much checking out by the minute of Star Wars.
Yeah,
Sorry.
in no small part due to EA.
Yeah.
I think that the Star Wars burnout is at its greatest now than it has ever been since like the Phantom Menace or some shit.
It almost feels like the clapping is preemptive when a new Star Wars game is announced, especially when it's a fucking flight game. Like, this should have been a quirky little side release, not a.
It seems to be a direct
successor.
Not successor, but a direct. You can see the through line from this. From Battlefront, I believe, had like a demo for something like this, where it was like, "Hey, X-wing and TIE fighter combat in VR, go."
Yes, that's right.
And they seem to have developed the concept into something a bit more substantial, and it looks good. It looks very fun. I mean, the fact that it has an EA logo on it, so most assuredly they will find a way to ruin it.
There has been since confirmation that there will neither be microtransactions, and there will not. It is not being referred to as a
live service.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know if that means it doesn't. I don't think that rules out loot boxes, to be fair, but that definitely does seem like they're trying to fucking curve their worst impulse to some degree. Yeah. They didn't say anything about no more surprise mechanics.
I mean, the fact that it's in VR is a big deal to me because it's a lot of the things I liked about, or I like the look of about Elite Dangerous, which is you're in a cockpit, you can see all the controls exist in game, and you have to like use your hands to hit the buttons and like turn the wheels and knobs and whatnot in order to get things to move. I love that shit. I eat that shit up.
Yeah, it does kind of make you pine for like a joystick in the classic sense.
In any case, yeah, there seems to be a campaign with like
There seems to be something going on.
And
It
it's
looks
squad
to have
based, which is cool.
the stiff ass writing of Battlefront 2, which makes it intolerable. But I mean, it'll at least be more fun to play.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that you can play as a Republic fighter or a New Order fighter means that you can play as an Imperial player and not have to worry about the game trying to guilt trip you into going, this is the
Yeah,
wrong thing.
That would be fine, but it was actually I never even got far enough into the writing of Battlefront 2 to get to the "you're doing the wrong thing" section.
Oh,
It
the
was
haze
the
sequence.
Imperials were so fucking stiff and dry, and they were essentially Call of Duty in space. The fucking march your orders and nothing else, no character.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody, the occasional dry attempted wit, and then move to form back into the steady, safe containment that is mission briefings.
Yeah, well, fortunately with Essetex, so long as the dogfighting's good.
Yeah, at least I can say that. And it does look quite good. I'm not really sure if I'd care enough to play multiplayer of it.
I might do that, Oh, well, I mean, I might not because I don't have PS Plus and I'm resistant to getting it. But, it looks, in theory...
Hey, missing the big announcement from EA is that all their shit's moving to Steam.
Oh, yes, that's right.
That was basically the only real news in this. Was that they quietly seem to be killing Origin. They won't even admit it yet.
They seem to be shifting more and more to the Ubisoft model of our platform isn't very good, but we're going to force you to sign into it even if you're using Steam anyway.
That's the 2K Games model in my head. Well, that was EA. That's my news. What a week.
Well, it's a bit late, but there is one other game that I've been playing a lot recently.
Oh yeah?
Skullgirls.
Skullgirls, the fighting game.
The fighting game, made by Lab Zero Games. The darling of the FGC.
You would know.
Yes, have you been keeping abreast of the EVO situation this year?
Only as so far as you have tweeted it, and that's about as much as I've got.
Well, it's been very amusing because it has been a lot of foibles and problems and baggage that have been plaguing the community for so long now are now coming to a head, and they're being brought, blinking hands in front of their face into the spotlight, and it's the crows coming home to roost.
You elaborate for me here, because there's a lot of oversights here. I mean, is it because the indie games have started to take over, or?
Well, there's a very good reason why the indie games have started to take over, and it's the problem of netcode. Have you heard anything at all about the big netcode debacle?
I know that netcode has been a significant problem for a long time for fighting games in specific because of the obvious latency issues that come with a bad netcode. Mm-hmm. So,
well, most traditionally you would use delay-based netcode, which is terrible, and it's out of date, and it's been out of date for the better part of a decade now. The new hotness is rollback netcode, but because most of the fighting game developers are in Japan, which is a small island that has a lot of highly developed network infrastructure, they don't care, and the rest of the world can pound stand, because guess what? What are you going to do? Not buy Street Fighter?
Yeah, I see where the precipitous fall is coming here.
So we now live in a world where the Backstreet Boys live tour has prevented us from leaving the house for extended periods of time. And now that EVO has had to go online.
I'm looking here at the lineup, the official lineup. And, you know what? To be fair, it's kind of exciting to see it get so nutty.
People are delighted.
Yeah.
Because guess what? One of two things was going to happen this year on EVO, which was they try to do the same old story, and you get to see fucking Smash Brothers die live at the finals, and it was going to be hilarious. Street Fighter was going to look like shit. All of the big name Japanese developers who still, after 10 years, because of their conservative corporate structure and corporate culture, have refused to adapt with the times, were going to get blown up, and it was going to be fantastic. That's one outcome. The other outcome is what we get now, which is all the indies who have been looking for their time in the spotlight, particularly Skullgirls, who got shafted the year that it came out, are getting their time to shine, and they're being really smug about it.
Rightly so, and well earned. I'm even reading some of the Twitter comments here, and I mean,
People are gloating like hell, and they deserve it.
a very fair question. Like, does Brawlhalla have good netcode?
I have no idea because Brawlhalla hasn't been relevant for years.
Yeah, but there it is, right up
Uh-huh.
there with MK11. And I
Um,
see Fantasy Strike, and next to it a comment that says, "Laughing my ass off. Fantasy Strike is whack."
uh-huh. Another funny development is that so there's been this long-running problem with connectivity in fighting games beyond netcode, which is Wi-Fi players. Wi-Fi is really bad for fighting games and online playing in general. Not because of speed. The speed could be great, but jitter, which basically means that it has an inconsistent speed that can go up and can go down. And even if you have a pretty good speed, the fact that it's inconsistent really scuppers the online playing experience. And this is particularly so in fighting games, where like you have like frame perfect shit going on, where it's like a difference of 5 frames could make or break a game.
Mm-hmm. I know this. I know this from the cheap and bullshit Smash Brothers Ultimate games that I've lost, and that being the only reason why I lost them.
Well, now that everything's going online on account of Backstreet Boys,
Yeah.
there a lot of Skullgirls, for instance, did something very funny, which I like, which is that they put in a indicator that shows that the person you're playing against is playing on Wi-Fi, and that therefore they're okay to shame because they deserve it. Wi-Fi players are deserving of your scorn and are the scum of the earth because they're the sorts of people who are like, oh no, it's fine, I've got a really good connection. It works fine for me, everything's good on my end. Whilst the person on the other end is like getting like frame drops and shit like that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And especially if they have a bad connection and they live in like Australia or some shit. So the fact that there are games are introducing a means of identifying them so that they can be singled out and shamed is very pleasing to me. And there's nothing warms my heart because they're really clamping down on it now in the FGC because of the online stuff.
Yeah.
Where
Yeah.
somebody accuses another person of being a Wi-Fi player. So the tournament official goes, "Hey, you're gonna need to prove that you're not on Wi-Fi. Could you do like a connection check?"
Mm-hmm.
Or if you could send us a photo of your setup, can you show us a photo of your Ethernet cable plugged into the back of your setup from your modem? And they get caught out and they get banned instantly and disqualified, and their winnings are forfeit. And it's like, yes, that's good. That feels good in my chest.
I feel the years and years of spite.
Especially, I think there was one instance where one person accused the other of not being on a wired connection, and the other person accused them in turn, and it turned out that they were both not using a wired connection, and they both got disqualified. Oh, mwah,
My
mwah.
God, that's pure drama. You gotta love it. When is Evo? When is Evo this year?
I think it is July. Let me double check. Evo 2020. And I've been a fan of Skullgirls for a while now. And now that's been announced for I'm putting myself in, boss. I'm going in, coach. I'm going for Evo. I'm not actually.
You're too busy doing podcast work.
Yes,
You're not allowed to leave.
It's July 4th to August 2nd.
That's exciting. I'm excited to hear more about this in follow up. Because I'm sure this isn't the last interesting thing we'll hear about the lead up to Evo 2020.
And I've been meaning, you know what? Skullgirls is good. I'll get back into Skullgirls. I'll play it a bit more so that, when I'm watching it at Evo, I can actually understand what I'm looking at. Also, Sonic Fox is started playing Skullgirls as well, and I've followed him on Twitter, which is great because he's a character and I like him. He's in Skullgirls as a background character now.
Holy shit! Yeah, fucking Sonic Fox is awesome. He's one of the few things I do know. One of the few people I do know from the fighting.
Yeah, Sonic Fox, they're a cool guy, and they've whilst I have followed them, and this is accidentally another bit of follow up that I've just remembered is furries. A lot of furries getting a lot represented recently, and unfortunately, this is also on my feed because Sonic Fox, that person, they're horny on main. That's a lot of pornography that I would not have otherwise have had to see.
You're welcome for it.
Uh-huh.
You're a better person.
I'm more rounded off. I'm more tolerant. Skullgirls is a good game, and you should play it. And I don't know if Sonic Fox is going in for Evo this year on Skullgirls, but if they are, then they're my pick.
Just right. I mean, they're the best player in the world, according to themselves.
Uh-huh. They're the best at Dragon Ball and I think MK as well. Looking forward to it in any case. All right, I'm back.
Yeah, that's all right. I took an opportunity to read that article a little more thoroughly now that I've just done bashing it. And
Uh-huh.
yeah, no, I'm pretty happy with what's been said.
That's all right.
At points, it looks like it's going to curve into some sort of rationality, and yes, it does. It has a few things to say about like shooters for shooters' sake and marketability and shit like that. And just like,
what was this the ludonarrative dissonance guy?
I don't believe so. I'm not entirely sure.
You know what? I think this was the same guy. I think I remember there being a debacle at the time about this article about how he was saying that like, oh, the violence is like completely at odds with like the social like. Yeah, this was the same guy. I think because
there's another guy that even this guy mentions on Polygon. Who also wrote a similar op-ed about how the violence limits the inclusion of his wife, but maybe this is the one.
Yes, I think this is the article that I remember hearing about how I think the late Total Biscuit did a rebuttal of it. It's like how ludonarrative dissonance was like the hot new buzz term that journalists were using in order to make themselves sound clever.
If only I had been smart enough to use that in the actual conversation. With cool Total Biscuit references and ludonarrative dissonance references of the time.
That's all right. We can just awkwardly edit it in post.
Yeah, perfect. I'll slide that in at the end of the episode.